Hello Internet, I'm Dan.
And I'm Chaz, and this is Wine is Serious Business, episode 174. We're at Youngberg Hill, tasting some Pinot today with Wayne Bailey, the winemaker and...
Grape grower.
Grape grower? Okay.
The everything out here.
Yeah, the everything, yeah. So he was kind enough to invite us up to taste through some of his wines today. We met him at the Wine Bloggers Conference earlier this year, and wanted to come out and see what Youngberg was all about, so...
Yeah, I want you to just give a little introduction to kind of, what brought you to Pinot Noir and what you're trying to do, today with it.
Well, what brought us here is the fact that Oregon, I think better than any other part of the world, reflects what France does in Burgundy. And that's where I came from. I spent 2 years there, fell in love with Pinot, and fell in love with farming. And coming away from that experience, I felt that if there was one place that I was going to try to emulate that or copy that, it was going to be in Oregon. I wanted to grow Pinot Noir. I wanted to grow it in a cool climate, and this was it.
Awesome.
Excellent. And he's got a great site on top of a hilltop. They're on a bed and breakfast right next door to the winery, and even as you're driving up, you're kind of like, oh, we're getting way up there, and like up on top of the hill, you got a view all over the valley. It's really magnificent, and the vineyards are right next door, and it's a steep hill, and we were just talking about how we get a number of different soil types as you drive up, to the winery. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the blocks that you keep here?
Well, I can start by saying that the vineyard was established in 1989. The inn was also built as an inn in 1979, and have been operating ever since. The farm in its entirety is about 50 acres, and on that 50 acres we have 20 acres of vineyard planted in various clones. And on that 50 acres, there are 6 different soil types, depending on where you are on the hill, what aspect you are, what altitude, and so on. Everything from 100% marine sedimentary soil to 100% volcanic rock.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, such a narrow area. It's great that you're able to make wine, working with all of those raw materials. For the show today, we did a little bit of pre-tasting and decided to do a little vertical of the Jordan block. We thought that they were tasting, they were tasting pretty good right now, and B, they all reflect some vintage character, which makes for some good discussion. What's the soil like in the Jordan block, or what are like some noteworthy things for people to know about that area of the vineyard in particular?
Well, the Jordan block is our upper block. It goes from about 700 feet up to 800 feet. So it's a little bit steeper slope. It's about 4 acres of vines, and it's on predominantly volcanic rock soil. And what's neat about it is the fact that the vines are a field mix of Pomard and Wadensville clones, owned root. And the Pomard clone just eats up that volcanic rock. It loves interfacing with that volcanic rock. And to me, the Pomard clone has always been kind of the quintessential Burgundian clone anyway. And interfacing with that more rocky volcanic rock soil really imparts a lot of earthy, minerally characteristics in the wine.
Excellent. The first one that we're going to taste is 2007. And I think let's get into that. We've been talking for a bit now. We'll talk some wine, talk about the vintage afterward.
Surprisingly youthful still on the nose, right? Like the sense of fruit is coming through on the nose. While it does have a sense of richness, a little bit of a sense of richness, like is young cherries and young strawberry fruit, and then a really neat sense of like chalky minerality that comes through as well.
Oh yeah, that's dead on. Yeah, like the sense of minerality. I'm getting a little bit of like red floral bits on the nose too, like lighter character to it for sure.
And you mentioned also earlier the acidity. And being at the altitude we are, our wines are always going to tend to have a little higher acidity. And for me, not only does the acidity help give structure to the wine, but it also, I think, vibrates in terms of the freshness and the aliveness of the wine as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things I like about good amounts of acidity in the wine.
And that could be what's really helping this thing stay so or the 07 stay so youthful, because I mean, the fruit here is very youthful, like the typical sort of blend of cherry and red berry fruit, but there's like the cranberry, like ripe cranberry sort of thing going on with a large amount of acidity as the wine is swallowed, and it just keeps things very, very fresh, and there's enough integration between the fruit and the acidity here that it's very, very nice. So.
And it's a very, because of that and the acidity, again, it's a very food-friendly wine. And part of my winemaking style is always thinking about how the wine is going to be with food. So I consider that wine drinking is part and parcel to eating.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I really like some of the strawberry flavors on the mid palate here, and then the acidity just kind of like settles in the middle of my tongue, kind of as the finish goes on, and it, and I don't think of pairings a whole lot. That's not something that runs through my mind a lot of times. But like this with a really nicely cooked piece of salmon is really sticking in my brain right now. It sounds like a really good idea.
Good.
Yeah.
And there's a touch, I mean, just of possibly due to age, but also possibly due to the size, that there's a little touch of like leatheriness, stemminess to it, just on the finish, underlying with the still the chalky feel to the tannins. That's nice. It's the 07s have really come around. I'm really impressed as I've been drinking 07s lately. They were scary on release, and man, it's just been impressive as you've been able to watch these things evolve. And this is the one that is drinking very nicely.
Yeah, and it's a good place right now, I guess, if you're lucky enough to have some. Or is this regularly for sale right here?
The 07 is, yeah.
Yeah, or so if you're out in the area, like looking for something to drink soon, this is in a really nice place right now, I think.
Yeah. We to that point, we typically release our wines about a year later than the norm. If you go around the valley right now in a lot of the tasting rooms, you're going to be tasting some 2010s, and even in some cases I've seen a couple of 2011s out there. And we just released our 2009s in November. So I like to keep them in the bottle for a year longer after barrel, just to give them a chance to age, because we don't use but 20-25% new oak. And so I really want the wines to age well.
And you said that too, like I was talking about the 07 being good to drink right now, that you were also excited for its future as well.
Yeah. I definitely see the 07
Sorry,
as
that's okay. We're just rinsing,
as a wine that's just going to continue to keep on giving.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is the 8?
This is the 2008. So same, completely same wine, just 2008 vintage.
Yep, fruit from the same point of the hill. We started organic farming in 2003 and started biodynamic farming in 2011. And for me, what that says is that from year to year, we're seeing better consistency in terms of the characteristics of the wine. We're seeing a wine that going into the bottle is more alive and more vibrant and more expressive of the weather that took place in that year. And certainly, contrasting the 07 to the 08, a lot of contrast in the weather anyway, but it really shows up on this Jordan block.
And a starkly different wine from the 07.
Definitely, yeah. Even on the nose, right?
Like a big amount of dark flavors here. Like this is like the blackberry patch. A little bit of leather coming through in the nose.
And just lots of earth, right?
Yeah.
There's like earth all over this. And
forest
not like
floor, big forest
and
floor.
not like so much like wet or like really funky earth that you'll get in some other places. It's just
moss.
Like dark, moss, like a little stony earth, yeah.
But all that underlying, there's some dark fruit flavors there that are completely underlying everything. They're very, very nice.
One of the things that I enjoy as much as the difference as you go in different sections of the hill from one block to another, and the variation there, the variation from year to year, I think as a winemaker, I don't look at it as challenging. I look at it as exciting, as the birth of a new child.
Sure.
It's just what is what is this new child going to bring me, and how different, even though the environment's the same, the process is the same, all those the same, very, very different, characteristics coming out, and that's.
So how'd you feel about the 2008 when like the fruit's coming in through the sorting line? You're like, what struck you kind of like in contrast to previous years? And
no stress.
Nice.
Nice. It was again. I always tell everybody that October makes or breaks a vintage in the North Lima Valley, and in 2008 we had the perfect October. It was sunny, it was dry, and it wasn't too hot, and so we literally could wait to harvest the fruit whenever it was ready, and no having to worry about weather coming in, and so it was literally, there was no stress. And so when we brought the fruit then into the winery, again, when you put it on the conveyor belt, went through the stimmer, went on the sorting table, and you're going, there's nothing here to pick out. The fruit was just, it was whole, it was firm, it was intact, it was, dry, and it was, you go, okay.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those no stress years. And after coming off the 2007 vintage, where there was some weather coming in late in the season and stuff, and there was some stressfulness, it was a nice break.
Yeah.
Well, this one definitely has more dark flavor and more sort of. It's almost. I'm trying to. I wouldn't call it velvety, but there's like a blanketing effect to the way that the tannins and the flavor interacts with the tongue.
Definitely.
Right, and that is completely different than the 07. The 07 is all about the acidity. It's very, very fruit driven and acidity driven. This is a little more blanketing, a little more easy and softer feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But
the acidity's there, but there's a little bit more of a visceral mouthfeel to it. Yeah,
totally agree.
And the way it starts out, like I really like the fruit flavors. It's a lot of like dark cherry for me right away, and in the first like half second, I'm expecting it to like be this big juicy fruity wine, and then after you get even the next second into it, like it's not, and these structural elements come up, and they have like a soft texture to them, but they're big right now, and they kind of fill the back of your mouth and sit there, and it is that black stony kind of sensation that I was getting from the nose. It really just kind of fills up the mouth, kind of sits there. And when we were talking about this earlier, they still feel the same way. Like it makes me excited to see how it's going to age, because it's got good texture to it, and it's big right now. And the flavors on that fruit are so delicious that as that starts to evolve and like back off a little bit, and everything integrates even further, I think this could be really exciting.
Well said. One thing I would add to that is that this almost to me, because of this, the how much flavor this maybe had on release, it's almost starting to show a little bit of age already. Like maybe not, it's just dark compared to the 07. But that's not going. It hasn't like pre-evolved. It's just got a lot there that is starting to evolve already, right? So from release, and which is
it's exciting.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah. So. Moving on from the 08, we have the 2009. Different label.
Different label, different packaging.
Yeah.
Screw cap.
Mm-hmm.
Screw cap all
Any
the way.
reason for that in particular?
Yes. First of all, I don't want anybody to open up a bottle of Youngberg Hill and have a bad experience. Right. So with screw cap, you totally eliminate the issue of cork paint. Second of all, at least with all the study that we've done, screw cap is the least environmentally impacted. Okay. We're part of the carbon reduction challenge, and with screw caps, if you look at the entire picture, including recycling and everything else, screw caps leave lower carbon footprint. And third, it's just more convenient. Nice. Bottom line. So starting in 2009, everything was a screw cap.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
And again, right, same vineyard block, another vintage that's distinct and unique from the other two. known as warmer, but this is that's one of the vintages where
I thought there was less in the bottle. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
where being up a little bit on the hill definitely helps you out. And you said like you get really good wind patterns through the course of the day too that help keep things a little cooler and a little drier.
Yeah.
And that's good in the warmer years.
Yeah. So even though the 2009 was a warmer year overall, we did get that cooling effect. We got a little cooler weather in October, but yet good weather. And so you don't have a big fruit-forward type of wine with a lot of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It stayed very well balanced, I think.
One thing that struck me about this on the pre-taste, and it's still getting out for me now, is that I tend to like this when it's balanced well with the fruit, but it's like the potpourri dish, like grandma's potpourri dish, like sort of a perfumey, sort of aromatic to it, and I like that. And this wine has that very well.
There's kind of like an exotic red fruit thing going on too, kind of like a pomegranate or something.
Absolutely.
You know, your comment about the nose reminds me of one thing I continually like, particularly in the Jordan block, but I think it's reflective of our wines in general, is what you smell is what you get. If you're smelling in the glass and you pick up certain characteristics and everything, you know, 99% of the time, you're going to get it in the
flavor.
Yeah.
Nice.
So no surprises.
Despite that, so we've got the potpourri, just some good, rich red fruit going on in the background of that. Yeah, it smells wonderful.
Yeah, and I think what you said plays true too. Like as I'm tasting it, like to me, a little bit of that pomegranate flavor is right there. And you know, when you're eating them, you get a little bit of like tannic structure from the seeds or something.
Seeds, yeah.
And I'm really seeing that play out in this wine, which is really nice. But the fruit has like like just a little exotic sense, something a little outside like the cherry and strawberry that is more common.
And the structural elements on this one really provide a sense of minerality. The tannins here are a very chalky feeling, like dusted chalk or even stony feel to them. And yeah, just really well done, really well integrated with the fruit currently. Like, I like where the acidity levels are here for me. Like the 07 was starting to hit my upper limits as far as acidity goes. I think this is sort of in a place where I like it. But I'm one of those people that tends to like the acidity a little on the lower side. So, but really, really delicious. So.
And I like how the acidity really sticks around in the finish. I feel like it settles into the cheeks.
The integration here is really
nice.
Yeah, that's well.
And it plays well with that richer fruit that sits on the palate too. I think they're a good complement for each other. The tannins, it's again amazing that this is just a 1 year separation of the same wine, right? Because the tannins are completely separate from what the 2008s were. Like they're still present. They still have a little bit of that dark earth character, but they're nowhere nearly as prevalent, right? And as kind of, I mean, forceful is too strong of a word, but you know, just really in the forefront. Where here they're much more mixed in with the fruit and acidity.
Yeah, it goes back to that word you used, which was integration. I mean, they're just more palatable because I think they're more integrated into the wine overall and throughout the palate. And you know, it's just a difference in vintage. You know, they were basically in the barrel about the same amount of time, same amount of new oak. You can argue that the tannins might have been a little bit lighter in the 2009, the fruit tannins going into the barrel.
Sure.
But then I think it's just the evolution of the wine itself. In fact, the 2009 was one of these vintages where, as much as everybody loved the 2008 vintage, I thought the 2009 vintage going into the barrel was better than the 08 coming out of the barrel.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how evolved the 09s were
before they went
process.
during the process, yeah. And it's weird to see the spread for 09, because I mean you've got anywhere from some people in Carlton producing 14.8s, 14.5s, all the way down to, well, we got what, 13.8 on this one, and then as we creep down into Yolamity, like Venduzer Corridor, you got some 12.5s and 12.8s. Like 2009 was a very interesting spread that really had something for everyone, depending on the amount of research you're willing to do.
Yeah.
So, and this is one that This is a very nice wine. The potpourri thing sticks around for me a little bit on the palate as well, but there is with the fruit, the potpourri, with the dried floral characteristic, and with the chalky tannins, it sort of remind me of like Smarties candy almost to a point.
Sure.
There is a good amount of complexity here, and I like this wine a lot. This of the three, this was my favorite. So.
And I also want to say like a little bit of a public thank you. Like an interesting thing that Wayne's done with Youngberg Hill is that you do a lot of outreach to bloggers and like essentially like the non-professional press of the wine world. And he was just talking about doing a wine dinner over Skype with some people on the East Coast and really reaching out and trying to make a personal connection, kind of through non-traditional ways. And you know, as people who do this as a hobby and kind of live in that world, we really appreciate that. And I think that's really cool. And I hope that you know, what's kind of inspired you to do that? Like because there is this extra time commitment. There aren't the standards that you're used to when you're dealing with professionals. Like, what kind of inspired you to diversify, I guess, your media?
Well, I think it all plays into who is coming into the tasting room and tasting our wines. A lot of the time, either Jess or I am the people that are staying in the tasting room. And as we're talking to guests, particularly younger guests, you know, you ask them, well, why did you come here? Why did you come to Youngberg Hill? What is driving your determination in terms of what you buy in a store? Mm-hmm. Less and less are you getting, well, I saw it as got a 92 in the Wine Spectator, or Parker rated it, or where they aren't looking at those old traditional types of written material. They're getting on Facebook and asking 1,000 of their favorite friends. Sure. They're going on the blogs and looking at what's going on there. They're doing things like the live tastings that Twitter does. You know, all those different types of activities which are much more interrelative and interactive.
And a good thing about that is if you're interested in more about Youngberg Hill, if you go online and Google them, there are a number of other blogs who have done articles about them. There's a lot of information out there through a lot of different voices, which is kind of cool. Like you'll probably find someone who's writing connects with you, and they're talking about it in a way that, you know, that makes sense and that you like to read about. So that information's out there thanks to the work that you've done to engage with people.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so wrap this up like we do every episode. You get to ask a question of the audience, and hopefully we get some good answers in the comments.
Well, it's going to be a strange question that I asked, and the reason it's strange is because I don't particularly try to make wines taste a certain way or have certain characteristics. I want our wines to express where they're grown, in what weather and what season they're grown in. Mm-hmm. But my question is still, why do you pick or choose a wine? If you're in a restaurant or if you're in a wine shop and don't know a particular label, why do you choose the wine that you choose?
Wow.
Good question.
That's a good question and a broad question.
Something that everybody has an opinion on, and pretty much everybody likes to read about, right? So even you as other viewers, I think, would like to see, you know, what your fellow viewers choose their wines by. Yeah, what the opinions are on that. So thanks for watching. Thanks for inviting us out to drink, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.